I think we're
Hello?
live. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Yeah, that was a little fun right there. A little opening
Yeah.
act. How is everyone doing tonight? And by everyone, I mean the 0 people that we currently have watching. It's okay. It's okay. But you know what? Since this is going out in podcast form now, because Ealan is the man, then welcome to the podcast as well. So, like, if you're
Yay.
listening, welcome. We appreciate having you here. You might hear some things here that are not applicable to you, like super chats, super stickers. But you know what? Just disregard those and enjoy the listen. That's it.
Yeah.
Also, if you're listening to this podcast on any of your streaming platforms that you use, you will not be able to leave a general question or a topical question. So I apologize for leaving you out, but we can't go into the future and grab your comments. I wish we could, but
Dang it.
not yet. Not yet. So anyway, welcome everyone. Brad is here.
You are here.
I am. Ealan is here.
I am here.
We're both here. And yeah, we're going to talk about the Oscars 2024, which, spoiler alert, I haven't watched them. So I just saw some Cliff's notes. What are the Oscars? I don't know if you saw my description. No one really knows. No one really knows. So anyway, Ealan, how the hell are you doing? It's been a week.
I'm doing great. Yeah, I've been messing around with the Osmo Pocket 3. And a little bird told me that you may have been doing the same.
Yeah.
As of yesterday.
Yep, I got it yesterday. This is turning into like a product placement thing. There you go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yay. Yeah, I've been messing around with it, man. And wow, that's all I got to say. Form factor, incredibly small. The creator combo comes with like a battery and everything. That's not what this live stream is about, obviously, but I'm just really impressed with it. And the video quality out of this thing is freaking amazing. Like,
yeah,
for something that small, like the sensor side, it's so crazy. I haven't even messed around with D-Log M or anything like that, or slow-mo stuff yet. So that's yeah. But like 4K 120, yeah. I think I might have a new camera that I'm basically shooting all of my stuff in the theater room with, because it's the size makes a bigger camera, like even the M6 Mark II, which is a smaller camera, a little bit troublesome in a smaller room, right? Like you only have so much space, like you're limited by that. So anyway, that's awesome. I'm glad you've been like messing around with it, and yeah, we'll have to chat a little bit after this and talk a little bit about it if you have time. So.
Yeah, fun fact though, before we get off this topic, I was just filming with it today. So of you out there who want to be content creators, just remember, if you turn off a microphone in anticipation of continuing to film, remember to turn it back on, because I failed to do that in some of the clips that I was filming today. So half of them have good audio and the second half have really terrible audio. So I'll have to reshoot the second half. I mean, it wasn't too much, but still frustrating that I'll have to shoot that over probably tomorrow.
You might try to salvage it. Could you salvage it using like the enhanced speech in Premiere, and then layering in some of the...
Yeah, because like that video you sent me where you can have redundancies involved to where the Osmo Pocket itself is also recording audio while you're wireless microphone is simultaneously recording
Right.
audio. But yeah, I listened to those wave files, and I could probably fix it in post, but
Yeah.
I'll just shoot
Yeah.
it over again. It's no biggie. I mean, it sucks today because it just happened, but tomorrow
Yeah.
I'll be over it.
I think that's something that anything with like new that we get, like I haven't really used it yet. So I've just been kind of messing around with it, getting it set up, kind of figuring things out,
Yeah.
connecting it to the app, updating the firmware on the microphone because like it's a different process than just downloading the app, and you have to plug it into your computer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So just been kind of going through everything, but the stuff I've shot with just the freaking, it's like I use the magnet to put on my chest here, and you can stop and start it with that microphone if you want. Like, so you could be like 10 feet away and just hit the button on the microphone and it'll start recording. Like, there's just so many things.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. I'll talk to you a little bit about it after, because like this is what I love how Oscars 2024. Let's talk about cameras. But we do have
Hey,
some
you
people.
need cameras to make movies and make content.
That is true.
So, yeah.
That is true. Got a few people here already. I'm not gonna pronounce names because unless I can. Lenern, I'm not even gonna try. Evening from New York City, guys. Hey, thanks for joining. How's the weather in New York? Is it as crappy as it is in Florida, or how's the weather in California, Ealan?
New York City.
Pace Picani.
Oh, LL is fine. Double L. The old double L.
Craig is here. Hi, guys. Hey, Craig. Thanks for joining us, guy. Thanks for. I just called you Guy, not Craig. I called you Guy. I'm sorry. Sorry. Jeffrey is here. Excellent. I think Jeffrey's been he's been on every single one of our live streams. So
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for the repeated support. It's super, super awesome. Joel Gonzalez is here. What's going on, gentlemen? Listen to your podcast as I build my acoustic panels for my home theater.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. Are you pre doing the clap test? Is that what you're doing? So when he puts them up, he can do the thing there. That's awesome, Joel. If you followed my channel at all, I basically built home acoustic panels for the first time when I like converted I don't know why I said this room, the room next to this one, to a home theater, and I'd never had proper acoustic panels. I'd had those like little crappy foam things, little 2x2
wedges.
Squares.
Yeah.
Kind of a joke, those are, and unless you cover the entire room in them, they're completely kind of pointless. Like, they're not really doing much.
Well, I guess we can bring this up if the audience members are not familiar with this, but those acoustic foam panels that you see, like your typical ones where they're like look like little mountain ranges. Those are good basically for the human voice only. Those are the ones you're going to find most common, basically lining every single surface of a vocal booth.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the only way it works, is if, like Brad said, every single space is covered with that stuff. And it's only going to help the frequencies that are most aligned with the human voice. When we're talking about bass frequencies, they do absolutely nothing. So yeah, those if you're just needing to deaden the sound or deaden the space, as far as just if you're talking into a camera and you need to have reflections of your voice dampened, great, those will work fine if you're just dealing with your own voice. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to have to get, thick sheets of rock wool or some sort of insulation to help all the other frequencies, the high frequencies, the low frequencies, etc. So.
Yep. I have yet to build bass traps, which I don't really have the space for. But the bass in my room is pretty
Yeah.
tame, thankfully. But yeah, well,
Yeah.
awesome, Joel. I hope it goes well. If you
Yeah.
join us next week, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Definitely.
Yeah, man.
Or just post a
More
comment
power
on one
to
of these
you.
videos. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I always say that the room is the most important part. And yeah, if you can get the room sounding good, every speaker you put in there, every subwoofer you put in there is going to sound that much better. And you know
Yeah,
it's going to
man.
sound better, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Music Jewel is here as well from Phoenix. It's beautiful. I have been to Phoenix actually, quite a few years ago, but it was hot and dry, and we went to Cold Stone. I just remember that.
Is that Jewel the singer? Oh man, I'm a big
I don't
fan. I
know.
love your work from the 90s.
Hey, who will save your soul? And let's see. Jeffrey Fry says he's about to get a big snowstorm here in Colorado on Thursday. I hopefully everything's going to be okay and you never lose power or anything like that. I have a friend who lives in Aurora, and yeah, he constantly is telling me about the weather there, so that's fun. He's like, hey, if you ever want to if you want to move out here, just come and visit during like the worst part of the year, and then figure out if you can deal with that or not, and then you got your answer.
That's a really good way of doing things.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
See the worst of it.
I know. I don't know. I've never really been in heavy snow before, so that would be fun. And Ike is here from Easy HT Tech. What's up, man? It's been a while.
What's
How you
up?
doing? What is going on? I see you're closing in on 1,000 subscribers over there on your channel, so congratulations on that. I hope it will get to you soon. I hope it get to you.
Yay. Monetization.
Yes. It's hard when you're making stuff and you're like, I'm making them for nobody. That's what I feel like. All right. Well, let's get started real quick. If you have a topical question, just like every week we do this, put a TQ and a colon. Or if you forget the colon, it's fine. The TQ just really helps us see the topical questions, or even a comment. Like you want to comment on what we're talking about, put a TQ there. Let us know what you're talking about. That way we can highlight it during the discussion. And yeah. And then after that, if you have a general question at any time throughout the broadcast, or I guess I should say, if you're listening to this in a podcast, sorry, put a GQ colon and ask away. We typically answer the general questions near the end of the live stream / podcast because we just want to kind of keep it focused to what we're talking about. But if one of us has to step away and we have to fill some time, we may jump in and answer some general questions while that other person has to answer the door, or, use the bathroom or deal with their cats or whatever. That would be me. And I say cats because we just got another one. So yay. Egon and Tully are their names. So if you guys get the references, then
then you're cool.
Yeah. So all right, Ealan, do you want to kick us off here? Because we kind of talked about this
I do appreciate that 2 of them did mention that they listened to the podcast already. So thank you for that. Because, when we started thinking about doing this live stream, obviously kind of a natural progression is to move into podcast territory as well. But I'm already glad that we immediately started doing the whole podcast thing, because people are downloading it. I mean, we're not getting like thousands of downloads yet, of course, but they're still there though. So I'm glad that we're able to provide that alternative too. So I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah. There may be or may not be, I can't put myself on the spot here, but there may be a website at some point. I already pay for hosting. I just need to buy the domain and kind of work on getting that built up. And I've never built a website before, but I have an excellent resource because Youthman has his own website building business, and he's said he'll answer any questions that I have. So there you go.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah, he's. I already have all those tools to do it too. I've bought like a web builder and everything, so might as well. Yeah.
Do it. All right, Oscars. Right off the bat, I mean, did you happen to catch the clip of the very, very end where Al Pacino announced the winner of Best Picture?
No. Can I tell you the only thing that I watched
Okay, go ahead.
was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito calling out Michael Keaton as Batman. That was the only
Right.
thing I've seen. Anyway,
That was a good bit, though. I liked it.
that was.
Yeah. I mean, just because, yeah, Michael Keaton's got a great death stare. He's still got it. But yeah, Al Pacino, let's just say, as an actor, if he's given lines to read and emote and perform those lines, great. But off the cuff, he's just old, man. I mean, this is literally how it went down. He opens up the envelope and he's like, and he says, I think of what he said was, "My eyes see Oppenheimer." And then the audience is like, does that mean Oppenheimer won?
Like, oh my God.
So then the music eventually starts playing, and the people, the producers and everybody involved in Oppenheimer start getting up in their seats and start going towards the front stage. But it was just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
I mean, didn't they have that a few years ago? Like,
and Joel makes a good point. Because he also forgot to mention the other nominees, because that's kind of the whole deal. Like, you're supposed to mention all the nominees,
right,
and then you say the winner. But he didn't do that. And apparently, I read something online that said that's kind of what the producers of the Oscars told me to do. Like, they didn't want me to say the nominees for some reason.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Plus, the other weird thing about it was all the major awards, Best Actor, Actress, and Supporting Actor and Actress, they did this new formula where instead of showing clips of the movie and then showing the person in the audience like they normally would, they had previous winners of that category come up on stage and then say a little something about that actor and their performance in yada yada movie for that year. Which was kind of weird, but also it just kind of took the wind out of the sails of the whole award ceremony. It really slowed things down.
Yeah.
And, some of the presenters had some really nice things to say about whoever was being nominated that year or whatever. And that was fine. But honestly, yeah, it just took up so much time. And it's like, just get on with it. Because it's the first time I'd ever seen that happen, that particular type of format.
Yeah.
For those major awards. And yeah. Because they're always trying to do new things and trying to spice it up and just throwing stuff on a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
But that particular format just didn't vibe with me. I didn't like it.
I think it almost at some point we're gonna become, or it's gonna become like it for those of you in the chat or audience listening to this. Remember Naked Gun 33 1/3, not the best Naked Gun movie, but they go to an award show and it's like just kind of this parody thing, and it makes me wonder, it's like, is that what we're getting to? Because it's like a lot of it's just really, you ever watch like Saturday Night Live and you're like, why do people find this funny? Because it's not, like it's just so like weird, and like anyway, it kind of just becomes this kind of they try to like poke fun at themselves, but like you can tell the people behind it aren't really into that. Like they don't want to do that. Right. And so then apparently, like, just reading briefly while you were talking about, people aren't liking Jimmy Kimmel as the host, and I'm like, he hosted? Like, that's how much I know about it.
Right.
But nobody got slapped this year.
True.
So that's true. Yeah. Or that's good. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like I haven't. It's hard for me to sit through an award show, especially like in real time, right? Like it's
Hmm.
you know. But the thing is, the best picture, like, wasn't that like a couple years ago with the whole like La La Land fiasco where like they just announced was that the Oscars where they announced the wrong winner
Oh,
and
I
it
think it
was
was
like La La Land,
Moonlight. I think it was Moonlight that actually won, but they announced a
La La
different.
Land. Yeah.
Yeah, was that it? I know that was a huge
So I
controversy.
think Moonlight had the one actor from the Green Book, right? I can't remember his name. I think he was wasn't he in the first Daredevil or something? The
That was
first Daredevil
Mahershala
show.
Ali, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really like him. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
right.
really interesting. Really interesting that they keep trying to change the
Yeah, that was
format.
Warren Beatty, and he announced the wrong the wrong winner.
I mean, isn't Warren Warren Beatty's pretty old too, right?
I know, another person that should just, maybe you can have like a, one of those tributes to their career, and they go up on stage and maybe say a few words. But as far as like presenting an award,
Yeah.
they should have a cutoff on an age limit.
Yeah. I mean, Al
Like,
Pacino's been out there for a long, long time anyway. Like outside of, I saw an interview where he talked about actually doing, was it cocaine while they were making Heat? Because he was so in that character. And he's like, some of those scenes where you see me all like coked out, I might get in trouble with this, but I really was. And I was like, whoa, that's
yeah, man.
crazy.
Yeah. Although, I mean, Heat was directed by Michael Mann, and Michael Mann is all about authenticity. So, directors like that probably don't care if an actor wants to, if that's the only way he's going to get into that headspace and have such a performance, then Michael Mann just probably looked the other way and was like, "Do what you got to do, man."
Yeah. It's Al Pacino. You got to tell him no.
I know, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. I'm just looking over the winners here.
Yeah.
So Best Picture, Oppenheimer won, obviously. Best
Yes.
Director, oh, who do you think? Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer.
Uh-huh.
Actor in a leading role, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Actress in a leading role, Emma Stone, Poor Things.
Yes.
I have not seen that. That looks hilarious to me, and I do want to see it.
Yeah. I really want to see it too, because I unfortunately I honestly haven't seen a lot of the Oscar nominees this year, so I need to get
Yeah.
on that, because normally I'm pretty good about it, seeing most of the stuff, not everything, but this year in particular, I didn't get around to seeing much at all.
Yeah, I haven't watched much of anything. I thought this was kind of funny. This kind of harkens back to Marlon Brando, where he, like that sounds like something Marlon Brando would do.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like taping various
Yeah.
lines or like having someone hold up a cue card, of his lines on the other side so he can. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I,
Plus, yeah, he was the one that brought up that Native American during the Oscar ceremony, wasn't it? Like back in the 70s or something.
I think so. Yeah.
He brought up a Native American and just had her talk about indigenous people and the
Mm-hmm.
shit that they're going through. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's one of those actors who didn't care at all about just the Hollywood system. He's just like, I know I'm talented, but I don't
Yeah.
like the business. So-
He wasn't a fan of the celebrity part of the business. He was just wanted to
Exactly.
do his work and go, somewhere else. And that's, I feel like that would kind of be a way that I would want to be if I was into that. Like if I was an actor or, director or something. It's like, yeah, I mean, I know there's like an obligation to talk about your work and
Yes.
to kind of, you got to do these press junkets and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, I just really want to make shit. Like I want to make cool
Mhm.
shit and have fun. And yeah, that's
Yeah. I
yeah.
know. Speaking of, I just saw it was like an Instagram reel or something that showed various clips of Cillian Murphy during press junkets and interviews and stuff. And in every single one, he just looks so put out. He's
Yeah.
like, "Do I really have to do this?" So yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of the same way. He
Yeah.
really he's obviously extremely good at his craft, but that part of the business, he's just so over it.
Yeah. I
So
watch it.
I feel for him because like doing press, man, that's got to be just so exhausting doing press junkets. Because literally, it's like you're
I
sitting in a chair
Yep.
for hours and hours, and all these interviewers coming in and out, in and out, in and out, and you're basically answering the same questions over and over and over. It just, ugh,
I can't
I do
imagine.
not envy that part.
No. And you know what's funny is like, as like the longer we not I'm not comparing myself or you to any of these like big kind of like we're not even on the same level as these guys, right? Like in terms of
Mhm.
like the stuff we get asked. But it's like we do get a lot of the same questions, but it's like normally in comment form. Like we can read it and
Yeah.
that's one thing, but it's like I can't imagine being sat in a room and just everyone comes in when's the next mini DSP tutorial or when is the like just over and over again, it's like that would
Right.
be at some point you just like crack and go enough, I can't do it. But
Right.
it's like I don't know why someone would want to interview me, but that's just me, I'm kind of like that. I think, and what's funny though is I think Cillian Murphy is the same way. He does not want to do any of this press bullshit. Like he is
No.
just no. And I think what's funny is I saw an interview with Emily Blunt, and she said he is the best actor in the world to her, but he is the worst celebrity. Like he doesn't want to talk
That's
about
it.
it. He just wants to do it,
Yeah.
and like he enjoys it so much, but like he doesn't enjoy the process of like plugging a movie and going on talk shows and doing press junkets. And I totally get that.
That's a good way to put it. He
Yeah,
doesn't like being a celebrity, but he loves being an actor. Yeah. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I could see that. Like I could totally see that. I could see that being like a thing.
This is a good comment here from LL. The creator should have won Best Special Effects over Godzilla Minus One. Yes, true. Godzilla Minus One. Well, I haven't seen Godzilla Minus One, but I've Chris Stuckman reviewed it, and almost 100% of the time, Chris Stuckman and I just align our thoughts align when it comes to what we like and don't like about cinema.
Yeah.
So if he says it's really good, I trust him. So I really can't wait to actually see Godzilla Minus One because I heard the story was just phenomenal. But yeah,
The
I
audio
do
mix would be pretty
agree.
great too.
Yes, I do agree though that the creator should have won the best visual effects just because it was all done off the cuff and done afterwards.
Yeah.
Like we said, like we mentioned in, a couple, was that last week when we talked about Gareth Edwards? No, that was 2 weeks ago.
Episode 2, yeah.
How everything was shot on location and all the special effects were done in post as opposed to everything green screen and stuff. So that it's really difficult to pull off, to just completely paint out like real things in
Oh, yeah.
frame as opposed to just having a little strip of green screen here and a green screen background there. So then you can put in whatever you want after the fact pretty easily.
Yeah.
But just having to rotoscope and paint everything out after the fact must have been a nightmare. So, but they did it. I mean, even like all the robots are actual people, and they just like painted out their heads and put a robot head on them. So like, how do you even do that? You must have to, you must need like to film it twice to just have the background there, but then the actors in the other shot, like the second time they filmed, I don't
Wild.
know, man.
They
But
did
yeah.
another episode on Corridor Crew with him, where they like kind of pulled apart, or like not pulled apart, but like kind of nitpicked all of his work, like even the smaller like movies that he shot basically solo, and he did like 250 visual. He did all the visual effects by himself, and like Blender, and I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah,
like,
man.
they were also just like, what? Like it. The guy is super talented. He knows visual effects. He uses it to tell the story instead of like, here's a story that we can tell with visual effects.
Yeah.
He does it in a way where it doesn't feel forced, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, you know, with a lot of movies these days, CGI is used to basically as a selling point almost to get people into the theater or want people to see movies, because it's like, this, look at all this CGI. It's like kind of a turnoff in a way,
Yeah.
because it becomes the focus instead of like the actual story and the, you know, but
I
he
mean,
does it in a,
almost like a crutch too. Like they rely
yeah,
too
yeah.
heavily on it instead of just having it enhance. You know, that's
Yeah, I
no
think so.
bueno.
Yeah, like I would much rather see a movie use miniatures instead of like CGI most of the time for like, you know, buildings blowing up or something. Like I always think of Independence Day. Like that stuff still looks cool as hell, like to me. You know, and it was like 1999 or 2000 when that came out? Some maybe even
Something like that.
97, 98.
Yeah, yeah, around mid 90s, I think, or yeah, somewhere between mid 90 and 2000. But yeah, that's I like another thing in the creator. I think it was in that video, wasn't it? In that video that you shared with me, where that shot with the truck going at night in the distance was actually just a miniature.
Yeah, it was like a dried up riverbed
Yeah,
that they shot, and they had like a small truck, and I think the lights were probably CGI on it,
I
but
think
like
so. But
everything else was like the way the perspective was, it made it look like this massive like thing when really it was like maybe no bigger than this, you know, 48-inch desk or whatever.
right,
Like it's like what?
yeah,
And it's weird because like you don't think about that. And you know, there was a comment that I think Greg put out that says one good bit was when they invited the behind the scenes production people up on stage, the ones that make it all happen.
yeah,
And that's something that does not get enough recognition, because like there's, you know, you like Ealan and I, like we make YouTube videos, but like we are aspiring filmmakers, so we're really into that kind of behind the scenes stuff, and we're kind of, for lack of a better term, you know, one man crews. You know, we kind of do everything. And so what doesn't get recognized most of the time is all the work that goes into it. You just see the end product and you go, oh,
right,
okay, that's cool. But you have no idea that 200 or 300 people made these movies, you know, most of the time. Sometimes it's smaller. I think a lot of times it's smaller depending on the budget, right? But
yeah,
you know, and then you see some guy like Gareth Edwards who's like, yeah, like we had like a 4-person crew on this film.
right.
And you're like, wow, like that's
Huh?
crazy. Yeah. What? You should cue that little cat meme that's like, huh? Huh? But yeah, it's crazy, man. Like the stuff that they can do now. But yeah, back to the Oscars. I'm just like looking at some of the winners here. I'm like, I've seen like maybe 2 of these films of all of these.
Right.
Maybe this was a bad idea to do it on the Oscars. We were not prepared for this.
Well, I mean, we could also just talk about the Oscars in general too.
What is an Oscar? Does anybody know? Just kidding.
Well, speaking of like behind the scenes, I remember, I mean, this is kind of off topic, but on topic at the same time. I remember years ago, I think this is back in the late 90s even, on ESPN, they were showing, they had this special presentation where they were showing Sports Center, right? They were just having a regular Sports Center broadcast on ESPN, but on ESPN2, they were showing you behind the scenes in real time what was going on while that live broadcast of Sports Center was going on. It blew my mind
Oh, I bet.
because people were literally running to get certain things to certain people on time before they came back from commercial or came back from one shot to the next. You know, there was also during the episode, there was breaking news that had just come in. So they had to scramble to get that breaking news and make graphics to go along with that breaking news. Like it was just, they were just going on all cylinders. And I mean, but that happens every single night that they broadcast SportsCenter. So just anything that involves live television, I am just in awe of, and I totally respect anyone who's involved in that kind of
Yeah.
business.
Oh,
Because
and
it is so hard.
yeah, and I mentioned, at the beginning SNL and how it hasn't been funny for a long time, but that still is not to discredit the people that are involved in it. It's kind of like, to me, it's like it's gone on. I was like, okay, why are we still like everyone's reading from cue cards? You can tell it's not really like, I don't know. It used to be really good, and then I don't know what, like, over the years it's just become like this kind of stale, like, and maybe it's just I've gotten out of the whole pop culture thing, right? Of like what's going on in current times that I really don't care, but like yeah, I used to watch it like back when like Sandler and David Spade and Chris Farley and even up until like Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig were on it. And then after those guys kind of left, I'm like, I don't think I've watched it in years. But like you said, with like the sports broadcast, like the amount of work that goes into a live broadcast like that is freaking insane, and they do it pretty much every week.
Mhm.
Like that's like blows my mind,
Yeah,
you
man.
know? And like every week is like a recycle of like not a recycle, but like you start over. So like they have to come up with all new skits, they have to pitch these skits, they have to do all this stuff, and it's crazy like the way that like that stuff is done. People
Yeah.
running back and forth, and like Lord knows like the costume changes.
Yeah, dude. Especially if
It,
they have to put lots of makeup on or wigs or something,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. But Craig actually, you might have seen it. He brought up a good comment. Is like, why is it that they don't have a popular movie that makes over $1 billion win an award? That's a hard one because
Like just for the fact that they won, that the
like if
box
it was just
office
like a
got
yeah,
so much money.
if it was a monetary only thing, like they took because like what happens with like the Oscars and stuff is they typically vote on who acted the best, who had the best direction and stuff. So it was all like based on artistic merit, where now you're just assigning a monetary value to a movie based on its popularity, I guess.
Yeah.
I would like I could see that, but I could also see like the argument against it,
Yeah.
because then you always with anything that makes a lot of money, or anything that is insanely popular. We'll take Avatar for example.
Yeah. I was just gonna
I've
think
met
that.
so many people that hate that movie, just absolutely hate it. It's garbage to them. They hate it, and I'm just like, it was enjoyable, and then they'll want to argue about it. I'm like, I'm not gonna argue with you. Like I found it enjoyable. I could turn my brain off. Now on the other hand, Michael Bay can't direct any good movie, other than maybe the first couple Bad Boys. Those are entertaining at least, but
Yeah.
so, but like just we could say the same thing like about music. Taylor Swift is so popular. I don't listen to her music. Should she win an award? I don't really think I have a say. It's like
Yeah.
if I don't
Yeah.
listen to it, then I don't know. It's not my type of music. So yeah, it is kind of a weird question though. What do you think about that? Just something winning an award solely based on like how much money it made.
Well, I can see there being an award for that, but not an Oscar or a Golden Globe, because those really are at the root of everything. It is about the art behind it. Because, I mean, again, talking about Avatar, James Cameron has this incredible ability to take a mundane story and make it popular. So, or just popular enough to where everybody is going to want to go see it. He's always got some sort of angle that is going to get butts and seats. But as a writer, he's okay.
Yeah.
And even the performances, and even as a director, like the performances that he gets out of his actors and actresses, they're okay. They do well enough. I mean, for Way of the Water specifically, I mean, I really do respect the actresses and actors involved, because I was listening to Sigourney Weaver on a podcast the other week. She was talking about she was literally trained by a Navy SEAL to be able to hold her breath underwater. And by the end of her training, she could hold her breath underwater for 4 minutes. And that's crazy, because that's kind of the level of dedication that James Cameron was expecting to be able to pull off some of these shots underwater.
Yeah.
So that should deserve some sort of award where it's like
Yeah.
all this time and hard work and dedication goes into that particular performance. But then again, the final product is just okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did like how Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling paid tribute to the stunt workers, the stunt men and women in Hollywood. But but that was it. It was just a tribute to them. They're like, "Hey, thanks for all you do," and then that was it. I want to see an actual Oscar go to stunt work,
Yeah.
because honestly, that it is such a unique skill to have, to be able to pull that off without killing yourself or just severely injuring yourself.
I mean,
I mean,
LL
that's
brings up a good point about that. Just don't ask the actors from The Abyss about Cameron and water. I
yeah,
mean,
dude.
Ed Harris nearly drowned to death on that movie, and he won't even talk about it to this day. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I love that film, but yeah, it's I can imagine. I think James Cameron also has a history or a reputation for being difficult to some people, I guess. I don't know. Like, he does kind of come off as like a jerk, but like I know he knows what he wants.
Yeah. I mean, he is a perfectionist for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think that's okay. You know, it's when it comes to like, if you're belittling people, then that's a problem. To get what you want, if you have to belittle
Sure.
someone, then maybe you're an asshole. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the greatest directors haven't been the greatest people
Yeah.
in general. So like, but that's a whole other topic for another podcast. We could talk about our favorite directors who aren't good people or something. No.
Beefy brings up a good point. There are Academy Awards for stunt work, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not during the main ceremony. Is that part of like the technical awards? Because I know there's a technical Oscars that is held in a completely different space or on a
it's not
different
televised
day.
and all that stuff.
Not televised or anything. So is that part of that ceremony, the more technical ceremony? Because I wish they would present stunt work Oscars in the main ceremony. that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, there's so much great like work, regardless stunts, whatever, like that goes into a movie.
Yeah.
You know, that yeah.
Yeah, because
I
they
like
showed during when Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling were talking about him, they showed this whole like little montage of all these crazy stunt clips, and yeah, to me, I was like, dang, well, they should honor these people with the awards right here, right now.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a cat crying at my office door because he wants to get in. I feel
Meow.
so bad.
Hey, I hear
Um,
you. You're in
yeah.
there.
Yeah. What are you doing? It's just a pitiful cry too. It's so anyway,
Pretty cute.
very cute, very cute. Yeah, I think that there's always like it does get recognized, but it's not a mainstream
Yeah.
thing, right? Beefy even said it. Like the recognition is there, but it's not mainstream. Like the face of the movie is Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, right? Or Margot
Mhm.
Robbie in Barbie. It's
Yeah.
like, that's what's going to sell the movie, which is, understandable, but, there's a lot of moving parts basically with a lot with anything artistic mostly, other than like maybe painting, or something
Mhm.
like a very solo created type thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of recognition that still isn't there, but it's at least getting recognized. Um, more mainstream recognition. I don't know. It's not really going to sell. But who knows? Like time is weird, right? Like look at back in like the 70s and 80s with like visual effects and stuff with like Star Wars and how that was like there was like and before the dawn of like the digital age there was so much kind of like elusiveness and kind of almost like a magician quality to like what do cinematographers actually do? What's involved in this? It's in that, and it's how these people create these things that they didn't want to share their secrets. Whereas like now we kind of have this wealth of knowledge everywhere, all the time, all at once. Let's see what I did. Anyway,
Haha.
I'll leave. But no, like as technology has progressed, it's become more open to more people, which I think is a good thing. And so people want to know how these things are made more than ever. Some people just don't care, and that's completely fine. Like some people are like, I don't, I'm a big fan of like bloopers for like movies and TV shows. I love seeing people break character, especially if it's like a serious thing or, oh geez, like It's Always Sunny bloopers are sometimes even funnier than the actual show. And it's just like, I love that, but I love that side of like the camera. Like I love being behind the camera, kind of. I would imagine myself on set watching this or something. I love being involved in that. Some people, I think we had a comment earlier that said it ruins the magic or fantasy for them, and I totally understand that.
Yeah, I
But the
get that.
fact that we're at a point now where it's like there's so much out there in terms of like how the process is and how visual effects are done. And, I mean, Oppenheimer, there was that big kind of controversy about like we have no visual effect shots in the movie.
You
There
do.
are some. There are some. They're
Yeah.
just even. I mean, a visual effect shot is even like a layering of two physical elements on top of each other.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's but yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to kind of have more of that recognition out there. Always,
Yeah.
because this shit is hard, man.
Yeah. I mean, well, going back to actor versus celebrity, I mean that's why people tune in because they want to see their favorite celebrities. So
Right.
all the people that are behind the scenes and on the crew, most people are not going to know who they are, so they're
Yeah.
not going to care. So I totally get that. You just want to see your celebrity crushes on stage.
My favorite key grip is their best boy grip. It no. Yeah. I just had a conversation with somebody recently about, why does everything cost so much money to make a movie? And it's like,
Because there's so much involved.
yeah, yeah. And there's so many people involved. And I
Yeah.
think I just said, have you ever stayed at the end of a movie and watched the credits?
Yeah.
And they're like, not only like most people, I think the average person has probably never watched the credits of most films. I was
Right.
like, just sit and watch how many people actually did all of that, minus the assistants for Mr. Downey Jr. and all this, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
minus all of that, the actual people that worked on all of that other stuff. It's a lot. They need a massive team to get this done in a certain amount of time. And then when they don't, shit like The Flash comes out. And it's so bad because they gave them a week and a half to do, 40 visual effects shots, which is just impossible.
Well, just even craft services, because you've
Yeah,
got so
I
many
mean,
people
God,
on set
yeah.
every day. That's a lot of food that you need to provide. So just that alone is, hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you're done with the
Yeah.
shoot, I imagine.
Yeah, and then you have, actor divas, and they won't leave their trailer. Looking at you, Wesley Snipes. He will only go by Blade.
I remember the first time.
I don't leave until they start sweeping up the popcorn. I'm sorry, that just made me laugh. You're like eating your popcorn, eyeballing the people sweeping. Could imagine that. That'd be awesome.
You can leave now. Oh,
Like,
okay.
There's got to be post credits.
Right?
We don't need them. You were saying, I'm sorry. You were.
The first time I ever sat through credits was actually when I was a teenager and I was with my friends, and we had just gotten done watching Requiem for a Dream. And I don't know if you've seen that movie or not, but it is incredibly messed up, especially the end.
Oh,
because everybody has a not so good ending and then the movie is done. And man, and it wasn't like it wasn't a conscious thing. We didn't consciously make an effort to be like, hey, you know what, we're going to sit through the credits,
yeah.
and we're not going to move until they're done. It was just, we were just so blown away by what we had just seen that we were frozen. We couldn't move. We're like, what did we just see?
Yeah. You're
What just
traumatized. You're in
happened?
shock.
Yeah, pretty much.
What?
But I mean, my buddies and I back in high school, we were literally the film guys. So we, after that, we definitely started watching behind the scenes a lot more, and we even attempted to do a lot of stuff on our own, and we wanted to see how things were made and how this and that came together to make this happen. So, yeah, I mean, it was good times, but apparently I was the only one crazy enough to continue somewhat down that road and create content of some sort in my 40s, because all the rest of my best friends don't really care. They don't want anything to do with it. So I'm like, dang it.
I thought I was your best friend. No, single tear. No, I mean, it's crazy to kind of want to make something. I think now, when you and I got into it, it was, 20 years ago or so. And it was a lot harder to make shit than it is now. I mean, we were just talking earlier about like the Pocket 3. Imagine 20 years ago having that at your disposal.
Oh, wow.
And, it's like, we're not shooting on tape. We're not having to digitize mini DV footage. We're not dealing with really, really slow computers anymore. Even cheap computers are faster than the even the most expensive computer back from like 20 years ago. So it's like it's so much more accessible. But you know, there's like I'm gonna get into like some opinion based stuff here. It's so accessible though. We've kind of there's like too much crap out there in a way,
Yeah.
and not there's like a difference between like, you know, the crap that's on like TikTok, right?
Mhm.
And like someone who's like taking the time to craft something, even if it's their first thing and it's not the greatest. It's like normally I've always kind of had an eye for that, where it's like that person like has something really like they had an idea and they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of it is just kind of garbage for clicks now, and that's what's hard. It's like I think, you know,
Yeah.
because it's all so accessible. And the reliance on, like we were talking about earlier, the reliance on CGI and visual effects. It's like I could do stuff on this laptop on my computer that I couldn't do, that people couldn't do 20 years ago, right? Like
Right.
all of this stuff is here, and it's like, okay, but like, do you have to use it? I think that's the question,
Yeah.
especially if you don't
Yeah.
know
I
how.
mean,
You know?
just because it was so hard back then, like you really had to put forth such an effort that most people, knowing how much effort had to be put in, would look at that and go, I don't care. I don't
Yeah,
want to do that. No
yeah,
way. So
yeah,
it was only those people who were that dedicated to actually creating something that actually did it back then.
yeah,
And now
and
everybody's a content creator because everybody has
yeah.
a camera on their phone.
Well, now everyone has a platform
Hmm.
to release a film or a movie or whatever. I don't know if you call it a film anymore, whatever you want to call it, for free on the internet. It could potentially make money from it as long as you're using all original content that you own, you know, or you license the music and you pay for that perpetual license, and
Right.
you could eventually turn it. It could turn it. I mean, look at David F. Sandberg, you know, going from making little short horror films to, you know, kind of like, you know, these Hollywood blockbuster. Well, I don't say blockbuster, but Hollywood horror films, and then, you know, regardless of what you thought of Shazam or the Shazam movies, that trajectory from him making YouTube videos to Shazam
Yeah.
is like crazy, all because he started, you know, doing that and people saw it and like wanted to give him a chance. So
Right.
you never know, you know, it's crazy. So like you see really talented people, and then you see, I mean, as with anything, there's a bunch of copycats, right?
Sure.
You know, you're like, oh wow, okay, well now everybody wants to make their stuff look like Michael Bay, or they want a teal and orange at all. That's one thing I will kind of it really pisses me off about James Cameron's incessant need to regrade his movies with teal and orange shit. Stop
Yeah.
it. The Abyss didn't look like that on Laserdisc. It didn't look like that in the theater. T2 didn't look like that. Come on, man. Just give us like how it was like originally supposed to look. It
Yeah.
makes it look too different in my opinion. But that's
Yeah.
kind of like my opinion on it, but I really would love to have him not do that.
Please don't.
Please stop. Yes.
Yeah, I remember a film that we did back in high school. We shot it on a shoulder camcorder that you would put a blank VHS tape in it.
Mm-hmm.
And after we did that, we would then, like, in order to get music onto it, we
Oh.
took two VHS tape players. We would play what we had filmed and put that into the second VHS player, and then also connected a CD player to that second VHS player and timed it just right so that the music would be playing while we were doing a specific scene, and it would all come together like that. So like, the stuff you had to go through back then just to make something that you wanted to make was
Yeah.
infinitely harder than it is now.
I remember the first time I used Windows Movie Maker to make a movie because I didn't have anything else at the time.
Yeah.
and I didn't have enough. You can only have like 2 or 3 audio tracks, and I didn't have enough to do all the sound effects I wanted. So I had to export the 3 tracks and re-import it, which you obviously, like, back then, like, there was no like lossless. There was no way to like losslessly export it and bring it back in. Like, you lost quality every time you did it. It would get incredibly digitized, and it brought it back in to add more sound effects. It's like doing that kind of stuff was really crazy. I wanted to share something. I wanted to share my screen because I actually still have this. And it makes me laugh because you were talking about, you had 2 VHS recorders, right?
Yeah.
And let me add this to the screen here. This is what I used to edit movies with. So it was a thumbs up video editor. So basically it would send it, like, you would need like you could play it from the camcorder or from another VCR, but basically it had like 2 inputs and outputs. I don't know if they have pictures on this eBay listing. I still have this somewhere. Yeah. So you have a in from camcorder out, and so like it would use IR signals to start and stop these things, and you would go, okay, I want to start it here, I want to stop it here, and that was how I edited it. Like, I would do it that way, and it was so funny because like now it's like I can't, like, that's just such a thing of the past, right? Like, you don't even think about that anymore. It just makes me laugh thinking of like, and then, you know, to make music like that. Oh, we saw our countdown. It's still going on in the background. That's weird. I just saw it really quick.
Yeah.
Cool. What if you don't see it? It's not happening. But I just thought that was funny because, like, going back to like how we had to make stuff before, you know, and the generational loss from doing that was insane. You know, you're going from a tape to a tape, so you're losing, losing quality there, and it's like the more copies you made of it, the worse it got, and it was like watching a bootleg or something. But it was still like, all right, that's what I had to do, you know.
Or just watching a VHS tape that you've watched hundreds of times, and it just starts to look worse and worse and sound worse and worse.
Or when it breaks in the VCR and then you have to figure out how to get it out.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid.
Tape out.
Yep. Cassettes were easier. Like, audio cassettes were way easier.
Right.
Give me my pencil. I got to rewind this.
Stick a pencil in it.
This has suddenly turned into like how old Brad and Ealan are, because we can. Oh man, those were the days though. You know, trying to like adjust the antenna to get like, I gotta watch the rest of Price is Right or something. You know, like, they were about to play Plinko, and that's my favorite game. Just want to see the old lady go under the wheel.
I know.
She spins
under the
wheel. Anyway.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but you know, like, everything's come so far. It's crazy. It's cool. It's all good, but like, you know, there comes a point where it's like, okay, just because you have these tools, damn it with the thumb again. I'm gonna start wearing gloves so it can't detect it. No, but I don't even remember what I was saying now. God, so the thumb thing. No, I think there comes to a point where it's like, you have all these tools, which are great, but like, you don't have to use all the tools all the time, right? Like, you get to a point where you use them to service like what you're trying to do. Not, you don't do something just because you can. You do it for a reason. Like, there needs to be motivation, and I think with a lot of movies, you know, kind of tying it back to the Oscars and stuff, not saying anything bad about the people on these visual effects teams, because ultimately, like, they're doing what they're assigned to do, right? Like, they work for a VFX company, and they're like, okay, they have to make money. It's a business. I get it. But like, they may not have a say. And like, I don't want to do the CGI for the Flash in this short amount of time. And yet they have to get it to a point where, you know, it's like been approved or whatever. So it's really just funny. Like, seeing people kind of shit all over that, and I just felt bad for the people that were involved, because it's like a lot of them,
Yeah.
like it's kind of like in a big like corporation, when like management is just awful and like they're the reason that everything sucks, but like the employees that you go to the store and see, or that you talk to on the phone, get the short end of the stick, because
Yeah.
they're kind of the ones that have to take it all. It's like I I feel for those people because I've been there too. So like, it wasn't on them.
Yeah.
It's typically on the higher ups.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the same with a good Dolby Atmos mix and a bad Dolby Atmos mix. It's 99% of the time not the engineer's fault. It is
Right.
probably a budgetary reason or a time constraint that they just couldn't do the best quality in that short amount of time. So there's,
Yeah.
before I make any judgments, I mean, I used to make judgments or knee jerk reactions all the time.
Yeah.
But then, once I really started to enjoy the craftsmanship of creating anything really, art,
Right.
filmmaking, music, whatever, then you really get a respect for how how hard it is, and B, how much time it really takes to make something quality.
Yeah.
So, I honestly would love to have a chat with the VFX artists of The Flash and be like, so what's the real story?
Yeah.
How much time did you have?
Yeah.
So, I want to hear both sides of the story.
Yeah. I think, a larger problem is wanting a lot of people that want to work in Hollywood again aren't going to say the bad things that need to, like, how many times have you heard like, well, this director's like a real asshole. Well, who is it? I can't say. Why? Because they want to keep working, it's like
Yeah.
there's that, it's like it's a lot of bat patting and back patting. Anyway, you know what I mean? Butt kissing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to, like have that kind of conversation, even with like an audio mixer. I would love to just kind of sit with Christopher Nolan's sound team and go, why do his movies all sound super compressed and just loud?
Yeah.
Like, is that what, like, I know that's what he wants, because it's been consistent ever since like the Dark Knight Rises, one of those movies that
Mhm.
just, Inception was kind of the start of it. There's a little bit of that in there that just was like uncomfortable to listen to. Like it was
Yeah.
just so loud.
Well,
But then like,
I think it started with Batman because of Christian Bale's Batman voice.
yeah, it could be.
But then, and then also in The Dark Knight to a degree. But
Yeah.
I think it really started to become a problem when Dark Knight Rises came out and Bane's voice was a big
Oh
issue.
man, that whole opening plane scene, I remember
Mm,
watching that in IMAX, and I had like, it hurt my ears
yeah,
to listen to that.
yeah,
Um, the the thing is, like, the dynamics in that scene, in that movie as a whole, it's like, it's not, I wouldn't even say it's all over the place. Just everything is just like turned up to 11. It felt like,
hmm,
I was like, this doesn't sound that great. And it's been a continuation with like Tenet and Dunkirk,
yep,
yeah. And I love, the thing is, the comment here, and yes, Hans Zimmer's score in any of those is good. Like, I love
yeah,
here's the thing, I this is gonna sound weird, but Interstellar score, I love the isolated score on the actual like CD.
yeah.
But in the movie, they pumped up that organ so loud
Oh,
that it's
yeah,
just,
dude.
whenever it comes in, it's like, it's like, oh my God, like it just drowns everything else out,
Hmm.
and yeah, we're nitpicking here, and we we weren't the director of it, but I've had a suspicion that and this kind of confirms it here, that Nolan has a hearing problem. I've said it before on but yeah, I think that he doesn't like surround sound, and he likes stuff loud, so
Yeah.
so maybe he has a hearing problem. I don't know. But you know,
Possibly.
yeah. And Nolan is such a perfectionist that I think that he would do this, that he would sit in and make sure that it's exactly how he wants it.
Yeah.
You know, but do I agree with how he wants it? Not at all. I think his audio mixes are probably some of the, dare I say, the least interesting sounding mixes I've heard in a while. There's just not very much in the way of like dynamic range with those. It's all just a loud cacophony. Is that the right? Yeah. Cacophony, whatever. It's just a barrage of a bunch of sounds, and you know, it's not, I don't think it's very effective for me personally, because I look at like Saving Private Ryan and that whole D-Day beach scene, and the way it's mixed and everything, it's so well done, but you still feel like you're there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like a Christopher Nolan movie. You know, it doesn't sound like that like just a wall of sound. It immerses you in this violent, like kind of arena, basically. It's insane. Like, whereas like Dunkirk, it's just like, oh, that was a gunshot, and it was super freaking loud. Like, you know, oh, there's more gunshots. Okay, like now my ears hurt. You know, it's to do it a little bit is one thing, to kind of like accentuate a scene, but like the whole movie's kind of like that.
I mean, just imagine in the first Jurassic Park when they first see the Brachiosaurus. Just imagine if John Williams' score was just blasting through those speakers. It would have completely changed the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, the music obviously crescendos into this majestic, you know, moment because they're seeing a dinosaur for the first time with their own eyes, and it was perfect. It was just this amazing scenario that just unfolded before their very eyes, and everything about it from start to finish of that scene was done so well. But like, did it need to be like a huge wall of sound? No. and Steven Spielberg knew that.
Yeah. I mean, and still to this day, Steven Spielberg has some of the best sounding audio mixes. His sound team is like second to none.
Yeah, dude.
You know, even like, you know, what everybody uses Ready Player One, you know, to like demo their home theater, right? And the problem with that movie is it's so busy. Like, it's really hard to stop and notice the little details in the sound. But it's also a testament to it still being so busy, but still being orally legible. Like, every sound you can hear, and you know what you're hearing, you know, and it's comfortable even at loud volumes. That's, I think, another thing too. There's dynamics there.
Because I do appreciate that. I mean, I know where you're coming from. It is very, very busy, but I do appreciate the fact that that scene has literally from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. You know,
if not lower, right?
Of
like
human hearing.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
because
crazy.
you've got the car crashes and the dialogue. You've got the low end, especially when King Kong comes into the picture.
Oh yeah,
and you know the T-Rex is there for a minute, but then you've also got the real bright highs when he's collecting all the coins. So that's why I enjoy that particular scene as a demo scene, just because it has everything.
It's giving my wife nightmares. That
really?
Hearing that scene over and over again, echoing through the house. Just the Artemis, the Sixer Fixer. You know, that whole
right.
Seen all her walkthroughs. I've memorized it.
It's her.
It's definitely her. Yeah. But yeah, I think that there's you know, I don't know where I was going with that. I had a thought and then it just exited my brain. Um,
Yay.
yeah, I will say that we have this comment here. I love Hans Zimmer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, even that was it the Hans Zimmer Live in Prague Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm.
excellent. Dolby Atmos mix. I really love his music. It's the way the music is typically mixed within the movie that
Yeah.
I take issue with. And Interstellar was like, yeah, his mix in that, like the mix that they just pump that organ up. And I know he didn't play
Yeah.
the organ; they recorded it. Somebody else played it, but like it just
Right.
got to the point where it was like so droning. Um, you know, it was crazy, and it added to certain moments. But I think, in my opinion, they may have overused it in that
Oh
movie
yeah.
a,
I
a
remember
lot.
a specific scene. It was a scene where it's pretty quiet going on. Like there's just like some light music going on in the
Hmm.
background. And it's when he's in his truck and he's about to go through the cornfield. Um, and as soon as he like hits the gas and starts going through the cornfield, because this is when I saw it in the theater. We were probably
Were they chasing that
two.
drone like that through the cornfield, and they were chasing the drone, and he went off road into the cornfield? Is that what you're
I
talking
think
about?
so.
Yeah.
I think so. We were maybe like two or three rows from the very back of the theater. And I remember because when he steps on the gas and he's going through that cornfield, that's when the music kicked in, full blast. But not only that, not only was it mixed that way, but they also just had the volume up really loud in that particular theater or
Yeah.
something. Because I literally had to plug my ears when the
It
music
hurt. Yeah.
started blasting in that scene. I was like, this is ridiculous. Why is
Yeah.
this music so loud? There's no artistic, choice here. It was just
Yeah. Loud. And
yeah, it was just insane.
I often make the joke that Christopher Nolan's movies are the only ones that I have to actively adjust the volume on. Normally, I leave the volume at one. I'll pick it at the beginning, and it's like, oh yeah, I might need to like bring it up a little louder. Typically, if it's like
Yeah.
depending on the movie, but most of the time it's like I'll leave it there. I'm like constantly riding that volume control because I'm gonna need to hear the dialogue. You know, sometimes I'll even use like the dialogue enhancement thing on the Denon X6300H that I have,
Right.
just so it punches through the mix because it's mixed so low and also very muffled. And the problem with Tenet in particular is there's a lot of accents in that movie,
Oh yeah.
that when it's low and there's an accent, it might be typically I'm good after like, I don't know, 10 to 15 seconds of someone speaking. My brain just kind of like latches onto it. I can understand it. But when it's mixed low like that, it takes me even longer. Like it's trying to read lips and I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're saying. Like,
Mhm.
you know, and for a while I thought it was my hearing that was a problem. And then I asked my wife, she's like, no, it's not you. I couldn't
Yeah.
understand it. I couldn't understand a damn thing that they were saying. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
good, good.
I mean,
Um,
it's like nowadays, Christopher Nolan movies, it's a requirement to have closed captions on, or else
yeah.
you're going to miss something. I, full disclosure, I finally saw Oppenheimer like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Just because I knew we were probably going to talk about the Oscars during this live stream. And I knew the Oscars obviously or Oppenheimer had a lot of nominations.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? I gotta watch it. Because I own it. I own it on 4K Blu-ray, but I had never actually watched it. Because I didn't see it in a theater either.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, because we don't have like this wasn't in my theater. This was just in my living room with our 3.1 setup. And we watched it. We didn't even watch it on 4K Blu-ray. We watched it on Vudu,
Okay.
just because it was convenient. Because I had the digital code and I put all my stuff on Vudu. And even then, even watching it on Vudu, like it was pushing I have this little force field 30 subwoofer from Golden Ear right now, and it was pushing that thing to the max. I mean, it wasn't like making everything shake or anything, but like I could hear the resonance of the cabinet. And normally I don't. Normally that thing is, because it's real compact and it is very, very sturdy.
Yeah.
So anything else that I watch, it's great. But during Oppenheimer, I was like, oh my God, is this gonna break my subwoofer? Because every time, have you seen Oppenheimer?
No. I saw the opening. That's about all I've seen.
Okay.
Because everyone's like,
So
it's great, the bass sound, it's amazing. And I'm like, I didn't, okay.
yeah. Because I mean, this is no spoiler, but there's several moments where you're just kind of inside of Oppenheimer's head. So you'll be seeing him, and then it'll flash cut to just like random elements or just like dust flying or stars going in a circle or something. Every time one of those cut scenes happens, then like just it's super loud, super bassy, and then it cuts back to just normal quiet. So like just that difference in
Yeah.
loud to soft to loud to soft. I mean,
Ugh.
it's jarring after a while. And also there are moments where, because there's like a big, a lot of the movie is him during a trial that they held after the atomic bomb was dropped. And he'll be talking and he's basically just talking in a whisper. And, obviously Cillian Murphy is doing a very good job at
Yeah.
emoting and
Yeah, for
doing a
sure.
performance, but he's basically whispering.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? So, I mean, good thing I had subtitles on.
Yeah. That might be a
Go
subtitled
ahead.
movie that I watch. Just throw them on.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a great video by I think it's Vox Media. See if I could. I'm not gonna. I'll just recommend it. Basically, it's like,
Mhm.
why do we have to use or like why do most people watch videos with subtitles these days? And it's basically they're talking to like a recording engineer about like audio or like dialogue being mixed so low
Mhm.
to compensate for the increase. Like, if they want to make an explosion sound really loud, well, like there's a finite amount of dynamic range in a speaker, right? You can't have, unlimited dynamic range. Same with like a camera. You can't have unlimited, light capture with a
Mhm.
camera. So it's not possible. And so like in order to make that explosion or shotgun blast or something have more punch, they have to lower everything else. So
Yeah.
like dialogue or something. So they want that dialogue or they want that shotgun to have more punch. Okay. Now we can't understand what they're saying. Let's turn it up or so it's like there's always a balancing act, but there's also like,
Mhm.
Nolan's insistence on using mostly like he hates ADR, right? Like he
Yeah.
uses mostly on location recordings, and that's problematic because location recordings are really difficult for most
Yeah.
most things, but ADR is also difficult.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's just a wild thing, like to kind of get like the insider scoop on that, and really also kind of understand why it's happening. Especially
Yeah.
like if we are in the minority with like home theaters and stuff. Really, it's becoming more commonplace, but still, most people will either watch on their phones or watch just on their TV speakers. And how
Yeah.
many? I don't know if I've ever heard a TV set sound great. You know, in a pinch, it's like, okay, this YouTube video sounds okay or something, but I would
Mhm.
not want to watch a 2 or 3 hour movie like this. But people do it all the
Yeah.
time.
I bet back in the 80s or the 90s when you had those like big projector TVs that
Oh,
also had
right. Yeah.
like big speakers underneath the projection
Like,
screen,
yeah.
probably that would give you like a decent,
A decent, yeah. I
decent
even wonder if
soundscape.
like like the Mitsubishi Diamond DLP rear projection sets,
Mm.
or were they DLP or the Dila, the DILA? You did like
Oh,
the user
I don't know.
replaceable bulb that you could put in, and yeah, I wanted one so bad. They look cool to me and never got one. But now
Yeah,
here we are with 100-inch OLEDs and mini LEDs and
I know, man.
jeez.
And panel LCD or
Yeah,
LED
we talked about
screens.
last week where
Yeah,
it's like they're modular, so you could just decide how big of a screen you want.
yeah.
I mean, who knows? It's all going to be Blade Runner at some point, just massive
Right.
billboards everywhere.
Billboards.
Yeah, developed an accent in the last 2 seconds. Um, who knows? Who knows?
This is a good comment. With you, Ealan, reviewing speakers, do you notice some movies the dialogue is just hard to hear? Um, honestly, I did. Yeah, like especially reviewing center channel speakers in the past. I did notice better sound quality or better, or just being able to understand dialogue better when it was a three-way center channel, to where it
Mm,
had your bass woofers, your mid-range, and tweeter. Because then your mid-range is where your dialogue sits, because that's where the human voice sits, is in your mid-range. Since they had their own little space to occupy within the speaker, that made it just that much more clear. But I will say that dialogue improved even more when I went from relying on the internal amps of an AVR to separates, because that also, like they say, channel separation is better with separates. I mean, like, well, what does that mean? Well, one particular example is dialogue. Dialogue sounds more intelligible, uh, or it did to me, with separates, because it was able to process that audio even better than when I just was relying on the AVR alone. So you've got like these different tiers or different steps that can definitely improve your dialogue. And yeah, that's at least step one for me, is if you have a center channel speaker that only is two-way with a tweeter and woofers, I would probably try to invest in one that's three-way, because yeah, it was a definite improvement for me. But also, yeah, but I mean, that's not to say dialogue is perfect now that I have both separates and a three-way center channel speaker. I'll still run into stuff like Christopher Nolan's movies where it's just mixed poorly. But it definitely helps. It definitely makes an improvement if you have a three-way speaker, and at least maybe not like a preamp, but at least maybe an AVR that has pre-outs, and maybe your front LCR is powered by an external amplifier.
yeah.
Then yeah, you're definitely going to get an improvement with dialogue clarity.
Yeah. I think there's also something that a lot of people don't maybe realize about center speakers in general, is they were they came about to solve a problem. Wow. Yeah, just slam it down, buddy. Slam it down. No, so like center channel speakers were, for years prior to that, before center channels became a thing, people were using the same three speakers in the front for like, that's where you get kind of like the LCR. And it's kind of becoming more and more popular these days with people that have like projector screens that are acoustically transparent, because one, you get multiple benefits from that. Even when you match like the same series of speaker, you have the same, drivers, tweeters, mid-range, whatever, you're still changing the cabinet size of that speaker, so the speaker's going to sound different. So
Yep.
one, you get like if you have like let's say you have 3 towers up front, which I'll get to why most people don't. I mean, most people know why you don't, because like TVs aren't acoustically transparent. You
Right.
can't really turn a speaker on its side. Really, you want all the front 3 speakers to be the exact same height, and space positioned properly, like in your area. And so the center channel was intended to basically fix the problem of like, well, I can't put a bookshelf speaker or a floor standard speaker in the center. It'll block the TV. So what can I do? Okay, let's make a box. And this is back when like, tube TVs were popular. You just put
Right.
it on top, and then as flat panels became more popular, entertainment stands became more popular. Okay, let's put it underneath, so it's kind of like we've gotten away from like having it centered with where at least the tweeters match right across. That's kind of like the whole point, is like you want the tweeters and drivers, the tweeters specifically, because that's the most directional of all of them, is you want them to match across all the like the front 3. And like I'm kind of like trying to get closer to that. You can never get it perfectly, perfect with like the way things are if you're using a TV or something. But that is why like a lot of dialogue is also even harder to hear than just how it was mixed, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're placing the speaker above the display, below the display, that's already in kind of a slightly compromised position. And that it's like you can't do anything about it. So like it's like you have to live with it. But it kind of exacerbates the problem even more of like having something, like basically already problematic. And then now you have something that's also somewhat problematic, and those things do stack. So they kind of make each other worse in that regard. Some of the best home theaters I've heard, doing like tours with Youth Man, have been the ones that have the LCRs where it's like it's the same speakers up front, and they're behind a screen or whatever, and you get that same, it's like basically it's like the seamless panning of the front. So it's a weird thing where you really can't tell where any of the sound is coming from when it's properly set up. It's really cool. Like, you have a pan across and it's like, it sounds like just seamless,
Right.
super cool, super cool.
Not like, oh, that went from left to center.
There's
to
like a
right.
U shape. Yeah. It's like a whoop, or like a, yeah, it's, I've had it both ways, where I've had the center on top and the center on bottom. I have wondered, you kind of mentioned it last week about having kind of like 2 centers calibrated together and then, angled to kind of make one. I wonder if like kind of a phantom image in the center. I think that's kind of beyond the scope for most people. Enthusiasts, sure. Like if I get like the functionality to test that out one day, if I have like extra amp power and all I need is like a Y splitter, and like a company's willing to send me 2, I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Or if you get a Trin off.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen in the next 10 or so years. Yeah. I'm sure they're amazing. I'm sure it's great, but I don't have $16,000 to $32,000 to drop on a processor.
Here, I want to show this. From Joel Gonzalez. I upgraded my Pioneer AJ center speaker to an AJ ELAC UC52 that is 3-way. Noticeable improvement.
I actually have that. All of my speakers outside of my Atmos stuff is Pioneer Andrew Jones.
Nice.
So for those wondering, they are entry level speakers that do pack. They punch well above their weight in price class, but they are not the greatest speakers. They're incredibly inefficient, not very sensitive. They're all 6 ohm as well. So like they're harder. I don't say harder to drive. They do heat things up in the AVR a little more. But I'm curious to see what they sound like. I've heard that they sound much better if you actually feed them like separate amplifier power.
Yeah.
Some hope, because of like, I think they're all like 80 between 84 and 87 decibels sensitivity rating, which I'm told is fairly low, I think.
You know the power rating, how many watts they can handle?
I'd have to look it up. It's
Yeah.
been a while. I think each is like 200.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, you could push a lot of current through them. But
Yeah.
I think I could honestly, don't quote me on that, guys, because I don't know off the top of my head. I should know. It's funny. I
And
use them.
last week you said that you might be getting some external amps fairly soon, maybe?
It's hard to say. Like I've been kind of supposed to get them fairly soon for like a year. So it's just kind of like, oh, what maybe I that is the goal. I think I maybe mentioned it kind of in passing because I'm going to kind of revamp the theater room and switch some things
Yeah.
around. So currently I don't have the capability to even add an external amp because of space limitations, but
Right.
moving things around, putting the TV on the stand and everything that I have will open up the top of the entertainment stand for the center channel, which is great.
Yeah.
I'm honestly mostly excited about that, having it closer to the like out of that little cubby hole and on top, so I could
Yeah.
one, it's gonna sound better, and two, I could swap it out when I go to review other centers because I have to take the entertainment stand apart on the back to even get the center channel out. Like that's
Oh, wow.
and so putting another one in there is like not gonna happen, and most centers are just too big to fit in there.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. But yeah, then I'd love to go separates and, like we've talked about, go full DSP on everything, manual
Yeah.
DSP. None of this Odyssey stuff,
No.
Dirac or Arc. I'd love to check out Arc though, like get like a Anthem AVM 90 or AVM 70. That would be super cool. Definitely love
Yeah.
to check that out. I've heard great things.
Arc Genesis, whatever.
I've heard it's universally praised from what I'm told.
Yeah. Here, I want to bring this up. What about
Yeah.
Sony making the TV be used as a center channel? I personally haven't witnessed that in person, but I can only imagine that's probably not going to be the best audio presentation because the drivers are still going to be really small. Because in order to fit in a TV that thin, they just can't be that big. So I imagine
Yeah.
even in concert with, say if you've got an HT-A9, wireless home theater system, so you've got the two speakers on either side of your TV, and then if you have a Sony TV, it can seamlessly integrate as the center channel. But I can only imagine that it's just not going to sound quite in line and timbre matched with the other speakers. I mean, that's
I,
my guess.
I'd be really curious to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I think, isn't it just like it's only intended to be used with their HTA9 system, right? Like
I believe so. Because
it like kind
I
of
don't
talks to
know.
each other and it factors that into because isn't that the system where you could place the speakers pretty much anywhere and it will
Yeah.
like you could be like this speaker is 10 feet in the air and this speaker is like, okay, maybe that's extreme, but you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
don't have to worry too much about placing it. It'll like use some digital calculations. But that makes me wonder, not to go too far off topic, just like keystone correction on a projector, you can fix it to get it like square on your screen, even though the projector's off. It
Mhm.
degrades the image quality. Will there be sound degradation because you're basically making kind of broad adjustments to this
Mhm.
stuff and fine-tuned adjustments? But there has to be some type of like major downside to doing that, right? Like one would think.
Yeah. Because I think I remember Shane Lee and I were having a conversation, and I think he did say that he did some tests, like put them in just random locations to see what they sounded like, and he said they didn't sound great
Yeah.
unless you had it like in a more traditional space or
Yeah.
position or placement. So
I don't buy it, Sony. Send me some.
yeah,
I'll test them out. Yeah, I don't buy it.
let's
We're
put
going
your
with a
money
hard,
where your mouth is.
the harsh tactic, right? The kind of like, I'm sure they're gonna send me so much stuff now because I
Yes.
just come across as a jerk, and they'll send me stuff. No, I
'Cause
honestly would love
that's
to
how you
test it
get their
out.
attention.
Yes, this guy's putting me on
Just
blast.
yeah, come at
What?
me.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
would be. Yeah, I
pretty,
just read that.
yeah, Beefy says pretty sure Sony is using transducers with the OLED panel as the resonant surface, not speakers.
The way you just said
Yeah.
transducers was transducers. Like you put the hard. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
You're like,
but
thanks,
yeah,
Brad, for
but that's why I said, like,
yeah,
I still want to hear it. I'm not
yeah,
gonna knock it until I try it. I mean, I'm skeptical, yes,
yeah,
but am I just gonna totally write it off? No, not until I hear it in person.
yeah. I think that's hard because a lot of someone will ask me inevitably about something home theater related that I don't know, and I would just tell them I don't have experience with that. I can't say yes or no to something that I don't know about. Here's what I've researched. If
Right.
it's something that I've researched, it's like, here's what, I've researched and here's the conclusion I came to, but that was particular to me, and my needs. What are your needs? They might be different. So,
Yeah.
and it also depends on like, if there's just there's so many variables. That's, that's why like actual like consultations and stuff that people do are like paid because it's like it's tailored to that specific person. Maybe I should start doing consultations. That would be fun. Make a little
Yeah, you should.
money. Who knows?
I will consult you on what you need to get.
Yes, it's a weird thing. I have a problem with like charging people for stuff. It's just I don't know. It's hard. Everyone's like, you should have a course. No, I don't know. I like courses make money. You put a lot of time in, and then they're like passive income. I'm like, yeah, I just feel weird about charging people for information they could find for free on the internet. Who knows?
Yeah.
Next week, my course on how to podcast will be out. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, I don't think that something like that kind of system would be, the best. It's like, again, it's like talk about room correction and stuff. It's like, it's not going to be able to fix everything. Like, it's not a magic thing where you just do it and suddenly your system sounds the best that it ever will. It's just not as simple as that because there's just too many variables. And recently I ran into a thing where I can't, like, I was going to try to buy multi EQX and I can't even get the program to like work. Like, you download the thing and it's like literally you have two options, which is like, it's like you can use the template or the thing. I click on either one of the options and it just hard crashes. Just
Right.
won't even let me get to the point where I could buy it. Like, I can't even get to that. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So maybe no multi EQX content. That's why I was going to buy it. But I can't even get past that little thing there. So who knows?
Dang it.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I was thinking about getting multi-QX too, because my Cinema 70S does support it. And if and when I finally put those in-ceiling speakers in as my surround speakers, I want to be able to dial those in manually as best I can.
Yeah.
Because also, Joe and Tell, his Magic Beans app is still very close to being released to the public. But even then, it is wildly easier to input all the data that you get after running the Magic Beans app. It's because if you have multi-Q X on your receiver, once you've done the Magic Bean stuff, it calculates all those things, and you can just basically send it to multi-Q X, and then it just just kind of does it.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's
Yeah.
baked in now. So that would be nice, as opposed to running Magic Beans and then having to input all that stuff manually, one by one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also wouldn't take me too long, since I'm only dealing with a 5.1 system
Yeah.
and not 9.4.6
So much more.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Beefy actually has a very good point, and it's a problem I've noticed with pretty much everything. Bad UX is a major problem with all this stuff for sure. Yeah, just looking at the screenshots for the multi EQX, I'm like, this is a $200 app. Yeah, I do like Dirac had some really cool things when I used it a couple years ago. I haven't really checked it out since. I don't think that they've changed the interface much over the years.
Well, they have an app that you can use on your phone.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Back then they didn't. They just had the PC program. That was the other thing. Multi EQX is not Mac compatible at all. You have to have a Windows PC to do it. Yeah, you can't get it on Mac OS at all. So it's it's weird. Like, you have to download it. You don't even like go to Odyssey's website to download it. You have to go to the Windows Store, download it from there, launch it, and then buy the license from within the app. But like I said, I couldn't even get to that point where you could even. I was just wanting to mess around with it to kind of like with a template and see. I was like, well, okay, we're not off to a good start here, Odyssey. Like, you need to kind of like, and the thing is, it's the only thing on my system that has given me an issue. I was like, maybe it's weird. Like, I have to reset the app in Windows 11 and then it will launch again. But as soon as I go to select something, it just, boom, done, like crashes. So I'm going to try on Windows 10 on my laptop, on my old, like 8-year-old laptop. Watch it work flawlessly there, of course. It's Windows 10. But Windows 11 has auto HDR for games. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not downgrading to Windows 10 for Odyssey. Sorry, Odyssey.
Because when you mention that, like, at first, my first thought is, well, maybe the 6300H is a little outdated, but I mean, it's still on the list of all the compatible
It's on the
AVRs.
list. Yeah.
So it should work.
But then I think I mentioned that, like, I wasn't even connecting to it. Like, I was just, they include like a virtual receiver or AVR in the program that you can mess around with. So similar to how, like, if anyone out there's ever messed with Mini DSP, they have templates that you could use for each device. So, like, you don't even need a device connected to access those templates. You can go in and just kind of mess around and adjust settings. It's similar to that. And then you could save those on Mini DSP at least, and then upload them once you actually have a device connected. I don't think you could do that at all with the Mini DSP. But I was just like, or not I'm sorry, with Odyssey Multi EQX. I don't think you can do that. I just wanted to go in and see, like, adding a house curve, because I noticed, like, you can do that. You can add just a simple tilt, which is kind of what I'm a fan of these days, is just kind of doing a tilt on the whole, frequency spectrum, and just going that way and seeing how easy that was and everything. And I mean, Odyssey, the way they do things now, is like so archaic in terms of like the app on your iPad or phone or whatever, or even going through the receiver. They're hugely behind like Dirac and Arc and stuff. God forbid you need to repeat something. You have to basically redo the whole thing all over again. Whereas, like, so Multi EQX kind of attempts to fix that by kind of adopting what Dirac and everything has in terms of like, oh, you'd want to just remeasure this position, you can do that. You don't have to redo the whole thing. Oh, just this speaker? Oh, okay, cool. You know, you can do
Yeah.
that.
When you first received the 6300H, did you restore it to its default settings? Did you do a
I did.
factory reset?
Yeah. But again, I'm not connecting to it at all. Like I can't, it's not even a 60, it's not even a receiver issue.
Right.
I can't, it's a program issue here. Cause it's like, I have no problem connecting the Odyssey app on my iPad to the 6300H and like
Yeah.
running Odyssey that way. It's just something to do with this program. In Windows 11, probably. It's again, I'm not even making it doesn't even know like I have a receiver. Like it's just like,
Right.
hey, like I want to open the template. Okay. Nope, not doesn't want me to. So
Crash.
yeah. Who knows? I might try it. I might not. It's a lot of money to kind of and it's just you know, you're whenever you buy it, it's tied to that one receiver. You sell that receiver, you lose it. You can't just take that license and transfer it to another Denon or Marantz. You have to buy another license for that one. And you can't transfer the license to another owner. So like it's completely like
What?
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know why they chose to go that route. Whereas like, you know, with Dirac, you know, yeah, they have different levels of Dirac, right? They have like
Yeah.
bass control and everything.
Mhm.
So you can always pony up the extra dough to like buy that. But if you buy a receiver that comes with Dirac, all you need to do is you're good. Like, you know, um,
Yeah.
obviously the receiver needs it. I think some receivers, you know, they have like the $200 upgrade that you can pay for that.
Mhm.
But then I think like that, I don't know if it's the same limitation there. I haven't looked into the kind of terms of service where, you know, if you sell that receiver or give it to someone, if can they now use it or is it just completely null and void? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey,
What
look,
do you?
someone just offered me
Yeah. Let's pull that up.
um maybe shoot me an email at if I here's the thing because we were just talking about it and I don't know if you
Well,
just joined.
could read the question.
Oh,
Do you want to read it?
can I purchase you a license to get your explicit review and Q&A on Multi EQX? I'll hook it up. I mean, maybe. Again, yeah, I don't send me an email, Brad at hometheatergamer.com, and we'll chat about it. Like I've been mentioning, I can't even get the program to launch right now. And I haven't even tried it. So yeah, if I can't, and yes, it is on the supported list. The 6300H is on the supported
Yeah.
list. 6300H also has the XT32 variant of Odyssey. So it's like the kind of highest version of it
Right.
with all the like filter resolution or the highest filter resolution for subs and speakers. So that should be more than enough. So I'm hoping, yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping I could get it to work because it'd be great. But you know, at the same time, my ultimate goal is to go full mini or full DSP, manual DSP control eventually with separate amplification. Then it's kind of like, do I pony up the $200 or just say screw it, deal with what I have? I'm just
Yeah.
curious. You know, curiosity kills the cat or whatever they say. So
Well, since we're at it, high finest 343, if you're curious on if the Trinoff Altitude 16 is worth the price, I'd be down for you buying me that, and then I can review it for you to let you know my thoughts on it. So Yeah, let me know if you want to buy me a trim off altitude.
If we're just throwing things out there, if you want to,
Yeah, let's see what else. What else? You want to build me
we're in
my
need of a new
dream home
roof.
theater?
So yeah, just add that to the list. No, well, I appreciate it. High Finest, I really do. Yeah, send me an email. We'll chat about it. I'm not gonna obviously take you up on that if I can't get the program to work at all. Because
Yeah.
yeah, even me, I was like, oh my god, like thankfully I like you don't have to pay money to download this because I was like, I need a refund immediately. Like this is not cool.
Yeah.
It's like not even able to launch it. So I'm really curious to just see how like it performs. And I've done manual calibrations with the graphic equalizer for a while, and I still stand by that. It's just if I could get that a little bit more control, that would be great. So
Would you prefer, since your ultimate goal is having DSP on all of your speakers,
mhm.
would you prefer software based like Multi-Q X, or hardware based where you actually have like separate hardware DSP components?
So similar to like how the mini DSP is, where you go out
Yeah, or like
like
like the other offerings that mini DSP have, like they have an
right.
eight channel DSP something or other. I think that's actually the highest they go is 8 channel.
Yeah. So you need a few of them or a
Yeah,
couple of them at least to get what you. Yeah, I would probably go the hardware route. That's my
yeah,
that would be my goal. I just find that if you do that, it's a little more difficult to set up, but you tend to have more flexibility in
mhm,
terms of setup. Where software based stuff like multi EQX, you're limited essentially by whatever the receiver is. And also another thing to consider is, if for say some reason I get a new receiver, um, as long as I have pre-outs, I can still use that hardware based DSP
yes, exactly.
versus oh shit, now I'm out $200.
Yeah, you
I
can
can't use this anymore. So
take it
that's
wherever you
something,
go.
yeah, yeah. And I am that guy that really loves to kind of get in and kind of get my hands dirty and do all this stuff manually. I
Yeah,
really do enjoy that. It does take a lot of time, not gonna lie. It's very intensive.
yeah.
Um, and there's learning curves to it, but I don't know. There's something it's very gratifying about it to me,
Mhm.
and it's definitely not for everyone. And I'll go through phases where I don't want to touch any of it. I just want to, and that's part of the problem when it impairs your enjoyment of something, then it becomes an issue. Where like
Yeah.
I did a full manual recalibration like last week, just out of the blue, because I was like, oh okay, I want to do it. Like
Right.
I did it, and I was like, I want to do a video on it anyway, so I kind of needed a refresher. But I was like, oh wow, this is like way easier
Is
than
that when you did your sealed subs?
yeah, yeah. It's when I went
Yeah.
over to sealed, and then I was like, oh, let me just redo these because it's been a while. Um, and I noticed that some things were slightly different,
Yeah.
basically with because I don't think it's probably been 6 or 7 months, and at that time the ceiling speakers were relatively new, so they didn't really have time to kind of like break in a little bit.
Mm.
I noticed it. I noticed I get more low frequency extension from them now, and I haven't added any like back boxes or anything. So I don't know if it was just a limitation. It might have been a user error, but who knows? But now
Yeah.
they go down to like 80 hertz instead of 110 or something. So very
Yay.
strange, very strange. Anyway, well, I
Well,
think we
answer me this.
riddle me this, Batman.
What's better, sealed subwoofers or sea lioned subwoofers?
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask me that one question that I didn't want to talk about because it's like they're both great. I
I'm kidding, of course.
I know. The sealed subwoofers are probably better than the sea lion ones. Nothing against sea
Oh,
lions, but yeah,
sure.
yeah, um, yeah.
But
I
sea
think
lions are bigger.
I think it's great. I think it's ported subs are great too. So they
Yeah.
both have their places. You just typically need more sealed subs to get the same volume output that you want. If we're talking about the same like driver size and everything, you need more power. Power. So, yeah.
Right. Well, yes, it is.
It's been wow,
2 hours.
Wow.
Woo!
Yeah, I know. That's like our good. That's like our money mark right there. We stop at 2 hours. Anything past that, we just start to lose people. I mean, we probably lose people anyway. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we did.
Anywho, well, thank you everyone for joining. Do we have any comment? Hold on. I think I started one from earlier, and we'll answer this one question from Music Jewel. He asked us earlier. You guys ever use a tube preamp? I have personally not in home theater, but maybe
aren't most tube. Wait, wouldn't that be a tube amp?
hold
I don't know. Anyway, that's you'll typically see tube preamps or tube amps more with hi-fi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, there's some really, really expensive stuff out there. Macintosh makes some. Like I'm looking at a vacuum tube preamplifier for $4,000.
Oh, yeah, so it is a preamplifier then.
Yeah.
Is it 2-channel?
The
one you're looking at?
Yes. Yeah, here, I was going to bring it up. It's on, wait for it. This is not sponsored by this company at all, but is on crutchfield.com. A recent sponsor of Mr. Ealan Osborne. Let me
their 50th anniversary is going on right now.
Hey, is it still going on?
Yeah.
Oh, no idea.
I don't know. They'll probably have something going on with it for probably the whole year.
Oh, wow.
Because it's, the 50th year they've been around.
I don't even know what's happening right now.
Wow. Look at that animation.
Yeah, it's going all crazy. Well, I was going to try to show it on here, but it's still like trying to show the background thing. Yeah.
But yeah, $4,000, and that's just a preamplifier though. That's
it's weird, right? Like
I've dealt with a tube amp. It was one of those like 2-channel tube or 2.1 channel tube amps, like mini tube amps that you can get from Amazon. I think it was Pyle or Fosse Audio, maybe it was. I can't remember the brand, but for what it's worth, it did the job and it sounded clean and the noise floor was pretty low.
Yeah.
Because that is the only thing with tube amps, that is sometimes the tubes themselves can generate some, insert some noise into the signal.
Yeah.
So you gotta, although I mean that's why, that Macintosh one was $4,000 was probably because they specifically choose the correct tubes that don't present a lot of noise, because that like harkens back to when I worked at Manly Labs, and that's their whole thing is tubes, tube microphones, tube amps, tube everything.
Wow.
And when I was making their microphones, I would part of the job is going downstairs and auditioning tubes pretty much. So I would put some headphones on, put a tube on this little amplifier thing, and if it made like an audible noise or a hiss, then I would scrap it. I'd be like, all right, toss this one, put another one on, audition it, and be like, oh, this one's very quiet. So then I would say, this one is worthy of being in a microphone. Because with microphone gain stages, oh man, you've got to be so, so quiet because you're amplifying the tiniest little electric interference pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, I get it that, you know, and the tubes in general just have a warmer sound anyway. So
yeah, I've never used a tube amp or preamp, but like in the guitar world, I've used tube amplifiers because they definitely sound different than like solid state amps. So you get a very, you know, like you said, it's like a warm sound. Yeah, but I've never, personally, I've never dabbled in the hi-fi area because holy crap, like if home theater is a rabbit hole, I don't like the hi-fi area is like a sinkhole of, it's like a money pit, really. It's like you could just spend so much money on everything. And yeah, I already have expensive ass hobbies as it is. So,
right.
yeah. But on that note, I think that was our questions there. We've hit 2 hours. I think we should probably wrap it up there. Yeah.
Thank you
2
for joining
hours,
us.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here again next week. I think we're going to talk about, we kind of talked about some TV show, video game, movie adaptations. And
oh, yeah.
yeah. Right. So maybe we'll talk about those. And yeah, we'll see where that goes because there's some interesting topics to go on about there. But
yeah,
anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Yeah, just don't forget that if I don't know, spread the word if you want about our podcast version of this live stream. Typically, I'll get it up like now. I think I'm going to try. You know, once this is done, I'm going to try and edit the audio version of it and get it up on Podbean. So hopefully it'll be available for you even tomorrow. So hopefully if I get a system in place, I can start doing that so that, you know, like something that's broadcast on TV one day and then it's available on Hulu the next day. So I'm going to try and have that with this stream. It's live stream. You can watch it now or on YouTube later or on a podcast tomorrow. So tune into
Very
that.
cool.
Download
Very
it.
cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, I don't have anything really to add to that. Ealan's doing so much work, guys. Go show him some love. Give him some money. Super chats, super stickers, all that stuff. He's putting in the work, man. And I feel so bad because I've been so busy editing videos for other people that haven't even had time to shoot anything for my channel. Like I knew this and that's about it. Everything else is like shoot, edit, make money, go to sleep, eat pizza or something.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the thing. No matter what, we're going to go where the money is.
That's what we talk about. We're all about the money. No, I still love doing this. I'm going to start making more videos, but it's just been, man, I went from like having nothing and like just being super busy now. And I have other people reaching. Yeah, it is. I have other people reaching out to me being like, hey, would you be interested? It's like, I don't know if I have the time. Yeah. It's hard, you know, to try to figure out like how to do all this time management. Anyway, but thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you here again next week.
Yay. Have a great week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.